Welcome back, everyone. We are here with our second Cabral HouseCall of the weekend. Hopefully you got to tune in yesterday. Yesterday was episode 2087, answering a half dozen of our community's questions. We are back today answering 6 more questions. So without further ado, I'm going to dive right into the questions. Hopefully you know by now how this works. I open up the big giant community document of all the questions that have come in over the past few months. And what I do is I answer your questions in the order that they've come in. So the first question is coming in from Darren. And Darren is asking, "Good day, Dr. Brawl. I hope all is well with you and your family. I read James Nestor's breathing book on your recommendation. And after hearing him on your show, what are your thoughts on mewing as recommended in the book? If it's something you believe has benefits or drawbacks, is it possible for you to discuss further? Thank you." Okay, so I believe mewing, as you are referring to it, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, for sure, let me know in the comments if you're referring to something else, is the act of keeping your tongue against the roof of your mouth, the soft palate of your mouth, and how it helps to reshape the face. Well, what I can tell you is this, is that for sure, that is where the tongue is meant to rest while breathing, and even during a lot of different exercises as well. But the most important time to have the tongue resting at the top of the mouth is actually as a toddler and child as they are growing. What it allows for is the expansion and width of the jawline. You can see my face is more of an oval. Over time, generations within my family, the faces became elongated because of poor nasal passages, I'm sure more processed food over the years, whatever it might be. But your palate is actually meant to be wider. So the way that you get that is, I'm not going to go too deep into the frenum and lip ties and all that, but you want to make sure that a child's mouth is closed when they're sleeping at night and that the tongue is actually resting at the roof of the mouth. So yeah, 100%, I believe in it. It is something that we should all do, but it makes a much bigger difference in terms of the overall shape of the face when we are a child. However, it is relaxing and restful and the proper way to breathe with our mouth closed as well as adults. All right. Anonymous is up next. "Hi, Dr. Brawl. Thank you infinitely for all you do and your passion for sharing your knowledge with us. I love listening to the podcast. My question is for my daughter, who's 18. She's in college and is busy. She enjoys exercising and is on the cheer team, so lots of tumbling and is active, but she suffers from anxiety. Some days worse than others, especially these days. I too have it. I take the Adrenal Soothe. Would that be something that she could take as well? Any suggestions? Thank you so much. Take care." Okay. Thank you for writing in. So for people with anxiety, I can't recommend enough, especially if your daughter's in college, reading the book, The Rain Barrel Effect. I know she's only 18, but if this is something important to her, I think it'd be really important that she begins to look at that book, because everything from heavy metals to lack of sleep, to alcohol, to a lack of aerobic-based exercise that we talked about on Thursday's show, all of these things would contribute to more overwhelm and anxiety. And we can do so much about it through diet and exercise and stress reduction and toxin removal and rest and emotional balance, and through supplements and through a success mindset. And I teach all of those things in the Rain Barrel Effect. And of course, as I said, I believe yesterday, that book is free now over at stephencabral.com. I pay for the printing. You just simply pay for the shipping. So that's what I would recommend. Learning a lot is part of the process. But yes, Adrenal Soothe and full spectrum magnesium, along with the daily nutritional support shake, because that already has the methylated B vitamins, could be highly beneficial, 100%. And then when she's ready, of course, we would love her to run some of those at-home lab tests, such as the stress hormones mood and metabolism test, which is at stephencabral.com/hormones-test. All right, Nicole is up next. "Hi, Dr. Brawl. First off, thank you for all your time and effort that you put in. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you, Nicole. I've been struggling with severe cramping, bloating, and back pain. about 7 days before my period starts. I've had lab work done over the years and it has shown that my progesterone typically peaks within a high range during the first half of the luteal phase. But then it drops earlier than desired, a quote from my RE. My question is, could my low progesterone be solely due to high cortisol, which I already know is one of my issues? Or could it be caused by insufficient egg quality premature ovarian failure? Is there any way to know for sure? Can the two be related? Any other advice on how to increase egg quality would be greatly appreciated. It's a great question. In my experience, I would say it's more due to the higher levels of cortisol and stress rather than to the latter that you explained. So that is actually fairly easy, fairly straightforward to lab test. And you would get a plan along with it by running that same hormone test I was just speaking about. So you would you go to stevencabral.com/hormones-test, and you would run that lab when you start to get the severe cramping, bloating, and back pain about 7 days before your cycle. So somewhere around day 21. And then we would see, what does your cortisol look like? What does your estrogen look like? Your progesterone, your DHEA, your testosterone. We would look at your thyroid, and we would look at your blood sugar levels as well. So it's an important lab to run. And then we would build out a protocol for you based on that. And if you're in the big five, or even the starter kit, which can all be found at stevencabral.com/labs, you'd get an even much more in-depth plan that would look at gut issues. What's causing the high cortisol? Is it life stress? Is it heavy metals? What exactly is going on? So you really want to work on the underlying root cause while then being able to palliate the symptoms in the short term. So there's no need to live with the symptoms. You can certainly use, the adrenal soothe, the estrogen balance, the full spectrum magnesium, the omega-3s, the daily nutritional support. All of those can be highly beneficial for you. But also you can be looking at, what are some of those underlying root causes? Is it, liver congestion, heavy metals, et cetera. So that's why I do recommend going a little bit deeper if possible. If not, certainly you could work on those symptoms with the products that I just named. All right. All right, Carrie Ann is up next. Thank you a million times over for all that you do for this world. 12 months ago, I did the Big 5 labs. And in the last 12 months, I've done the 21-day detox, CBO protocol and finisher with the citracidal drops, intestinal cleanse, heavy metal detox, 7-day detox, another 3 weeks of citracidal drops as my symptoms hadn't cleared. I continue to take your DNS, daily fruit and vegetable blend, magnesium, zinc, probiotic, vitamin C, D, fish, and fish oil daily. I'm an IHP and level 2 certified, and I've also been a chiropractor for the last 20 years. I live a natural, healthy lifestyle for the last 15 to 20. After having my first baby 10 years ago, I developed psoriasis and now have high-grade cervical dysplasia. Since starting your protocols, I've had some great things change. My 2 fungal toenails are almost all grown out normal, and I've had 2 plantar warts on the soles of my feet for years, and now they're both gone. I'm thrilled about both these changes as it really lets me know things are improving internally. Although I have seen no changes in my psoriasis and still have high-grade cervical dysplasia confirmed 2 weeks ago with a biopsy and colonoscopy. So finally to my question, what more can I do? I have no other symptoms. Digestion is great. Sleep well. My stress levels are low, and I love my life. All right. Well, this is good, right? So things are good, but we're looking at the cervical dysplasia, and we're also looking at the psoriasis, right? So it's important to look at immune imbalance when it comes to psoriasis. 2 things we typically look at are stress levels, and we're looking at gut function in psoriasis. And one can definitely exacerbate the other. The other wild card could be parasites or heavy metals. Those are obviously possibilities. And I just don't know if you ever ran what's called the bacteria and parasite stool test. I just want to make sure you don't have any H. pylori or parasites that we're overlooking. So that would certainly be one. And the only other one, because it sounds like you're doing so great, would be the mold, either beginning the mold protocol or the mold lab to see if you do have any levels of mold in the body, which might be keeping the immune system imbalanced. So that's really what I would look at. You've done the CBO finisher, which is great. Probably doing pretty well with overall digestion. I don't know like how much the psoriasis is cleared. I'm sure you got some clearance of it. And I was wondering, if you did better in the first month of the CBO protocol and the psoriasis got better then, because it could be a food reintroduction. So there's kind of a lot of back and forth that we would look at as to seeing how the body is improving overall. And if you see the fungal-based issues going away with the toenails, which are, a longer issue, and the plantar warts, it seems like you're on that right path, but we want to figure out, okay, what might be that last little lever that we need to pull. All right. Thank you, Carrie Ann. Lily's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. After you talked about your experience with a continuous glucose monitor, I started wearing one and I'm learning so much about my diet. Thank you for that great tip. I noticed that my sugar drops extremely low a few times a night, and I usually wake up when that happens. I think I know what's causing it. I eat a very early dinner and fast until breakfast. And I know that in order to prevent the nighttime dips, it would be good to eat something before bed. But I really don't want my breakfast I really don't want to break my clean fast. Is there anything you could recommend to prevent the nighttime hypoglycemia without using food? Thanks so much, Lily. Yeah, and the truth is that you should be able to stop eating at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock at night and be able to fast until the next morning. So, it can be an adrenal issue. So that's one thing to look at, is to see if stress is playing a role in this and the overall adrenal efficiency. So a product like Adrenal Soothe, full spectrum magnesium that I've spoken about before, a liquid melatonin, sleep health protocol, all of those could be beneficial. You can find those at stephencabral.com/equalife. What else would I recommend for you? I would recommend just making sure that you are getting in at least 30 grams of protein at dinner, something a little bit more satiating. If you eat meat, you might try some meat or fish in the evening. That would hopefully keep your blood sugar even a little bit more stable. Some good healthy fat like avocado, olive oil at night, and then play around with your carbs at dinner. Try to keep them more complex, like a yam or sweet potato. All of those could be great additions. And then if that doesn't work, you can also test your theory. So just one night, let's say at 8 o'clock or so, you might try a higher protein type snack and see if that helps to keep your blood sugar level stable throughout the night. Never just test once, test a couple times to see if you can beat or improve, or if that variable remains to be true, right? Because you never want a one-off. Anything could happen one time. So that's what I would look at. And then I would look at, is there something that's throwing it off? And then I would figure out what that underlying imbalance is. All right. Thank you, Lily. One more question today, and it's from Richard. Richard says, hello, Dr. Cabral. First off, I want to thank you for all that you do. Your passion for helping people is truly remarkable, and it's very much appreciated. My question is regarding the use of iodine with autoimmune diseases, particularly Hashimoto's. I've done a lot of research of this and listened to some of the top autoimmune specialists, and most of them seem to agree that taking iodine, whether from foods or supplements, can do more harm than good. Their argument is that an autoimmune condition is basically an overactive immune system, and iodine can increase the activity of the immune system, which in turn increases the autoimmunity. They claim there are numerous research papers in scientific literature that show when Hashimoto's patients are given iodine, their autoimmune condition can flare up. I would love to hear your thoughts on this and whether or not you recommend iodine for your patients that have Hashimoto's. Thank you so much. All right, Richard, happy to help. Just keep in mind that we do not provide medical advice and we don't provide any medical cures or anything like that. You have to keep in mind that our practice is a bit different. So although I love PhDs and I love research papers, and of course I read a lot of research on a daily basis, not even just a weekly basis, is that a lot of research papers are looking at one thing and one thing only. They're not going deep. When we work with someone with Hashimoto's, we're working on the autoimmune issue. Conventional medicine believes that the immune system has just messed up for no reason. We understand that that's not the case. We understand there's a genetic component, but something set off that epigenetics, that genetic component within the individual. So we will use certainly iodine with people with autoimmune-based issues, but we don't use anything willy-nilly. we lab test. So we run their thyroid, adrenal, or their stress hormones, mood metabolism test. We're looking at their overall thyroid function. We're looking at TPO antibodies. But at the same time, we're also addressing what are the main reasons for their autoimmune issue. So maybe we're using a product like the Daily Thyroid Support that has some potassium iodine in it, not a high dosage, but some in there. Remember, iodine is needed for overall human health. And only a conventional medicine mindset would think that you stop giving somebody certain nutrients because it will boost the immune system too much, right? So what we're doing is we're looking at it truly holistically. So we're balancing the immune system while giving the body all the nutrients that it needs. So what we do is we look at the main reason why people have Hashimoto's, and that is gut-based issues. And so we'll look at heavy metals, we'll look at food sensitivities, we'll look at candida overgrowth, bacterial overgrowth, parasites, H. pylori. We'll go about rebalancing their gut, removing the heavy metals, and nourishing their body, and also working on their adrenals at the same time. So we don't do one thing. Again, conventional medicine does one thing. They look at one thing, give one, treatment protocol, and that's it. So we're actually looking at the underlying root causes. And of course, if someone's Hashimoto's ever flared up, then we could always reduce the iodine if we chose to, because we're lab testing 12 weeks after we begin the protocol. So that's why we're able to see a reduction in TPO antibodies. We're able to see healthy, strong thyroid function, because that's also what you want, because Hashimoto's means typically that the person has lower thyroid function. And so we're using things such as the Daily Thyroid Support and a glandular, while using most likely things like full spectrum magnesium, omega-3s, adrenal soothe, CBO protocol for the gut, whatever it might be. Again, it's predicated based on the individual. So I can't give you, if anybody gives you that one plan for everybody, well, that obviously would be incorrect for many people. So while I respect a lot of people who don't use iodine in their practice, and I understand why, you then are not serving everyone, right? Because if you do the same thing for everyone, you're not serving everyone. And so that's really what you want to be thinking about. Again, my job is not to become, the favorite amongst practitioners or whatever it might be. I do what the very best is for people all over the world who have real health issues that really want to get well. And we look at the clinical labs, we look at their labs, and since they're an individual, we base it on their bioindividuality. So hopefully that's helpful, Richard. Thank you for writing in. Appreciate you. Great question. And thank you everyone for tuning in this weekend to the Cabral House Calls. Always a pleasure getting to speak with you. And I'll be back tomorrow on our Mindset and Motivation Monday. Have an amazing weekend.